Good afternoon, I'm Kate Cagle. Here's your Spectrum News 1 update. More unrest in Hong Kong. It's the 15th straight week of those pro-democracy protests. Thousands marched through the streets and even threw petrol bombs at police. Police responded by firing off tear gas and using water cannons, as you see right there, trying to disperse those crowds. Nearly 50,000 union workers at General Motors are set to go on strike. Comes after a breakdown in negotiations with the automaker. The strike would bring a stop to GM's U.S. production. Union workers are asking for better wages, health care benefits, and job security. Governor Newsom plans to veto a bill by Democratic lawmakers that aim to stop the Trump administration from weakening environmental laws. The changes would have restored some environmental and workplace safety regulations put in place by former President Obama, but Newsom said the new bill does not provide authority to push back against those policies. And that's your update. Ahead on the evening beat, as the Democratic primaries approach, a political insider tells us what it takes to make it to the debate stage. And one man's Hollywood dreams cut short by false accusations. And changing the game one woman at a time, one player's pursuit of a professional career in the NFL. I'm Kate Cagle. This is your Sunday Evening Beat. Welcome. On Sundays, we take a look beyond the headlines and go in depth on the issues that affect us right here in Southern California. Today, we are taking a closer look at the fire that sunk the Conception. As you know, 34 people died on that deadly Labor Day fire off Santa Cruz Island. This week, a preliminary report by the NTSB, that's the National Transportation Safety Board, found that all crew members aboard the Conception were asleep when the fire broke out. We've learned this could be a violation of Coast Guard regulations that could potentially trigger criminal charges. Here's a breakdown of the latest details of the investigation. If anyone was awake when a fire broke out aboard the Conception, they did not survive to tell investigators. According to a new report from the National Transportation Safety Board, a crew member sleeping in the wheelhouse heard a noise and woke up, saw a fire at the back of the boat coming from the salon below, but the ladder to get there was on fire.
It angers me. Literally, it angers me.
Larry Shea is a maritime lawyer looking to represent the families of victims.
Anybody who is a mariner knows that it is absolutely inexcusable at any level for the crew to be sleeping while on the job.
No one has confirmed this has become a criminal investigation, but the FBI served search warrants over the weekend, and the Coast Guard said the Conception was required to have a roving night watchman. In a statement, an attorney for Truth Aquatics said the company set the safety standard on the West Coast and appeared to shift blame for the fire, saying, quote, "We do believe from current evidence and testimonials it was not caused by the operator, the boat, or the crew, who acted heroically and did all in their power to try and save the lives of the passengers and their fellow crew member. We would ask whether safety agencies that have been aware of the dangers of lithium-ion batteries and other modes of transportation have considered applying this knowledge to the charter boat industry." Words that offer little solace to the family and friends of the victims, people like Alex Fish, who lost a friend, Charles McIlvaine, in the fire.
Once I learned that he was on the boat, I just went into the standard denial that anyone would. Chuck was the type of person who would survive something like this and come out with some crazy story, and so that's where my mind immediately went.
Fish, like others, is watching the investigation closely, hoping for justice for those who died. Another weekend, another brush fire to tell you about. The so-called horseshoe fire in Juniper Flats doubled in size last night. Neighbors have had to leave their homes under mandatory evacuation orders. It's now at almost 500 acres, burning between Paris and San Jacinto. There are about 200 firefighters working on it. It's about 20% contained.
Good evening, I'm Leah Freeman here in the Spectrum News 1 Weather Center. We've been under a blanket of clouds throughout the entire day today. You can see that here from our Santiago Peak camera. And with that, temperatures have cooled quite a bit. We're 70s along the coast, 74 Santa Monica, 90 in Palmdale and Lancaster. So definitely warmer farther inland, but that's still much cooler than it has been in the past several days. And you can see that here with our 24-hour temperature change. So temperatures anywhere from 5 to 15 degrees cooler. So it's been a nice day in terms of that. And winds, that's what's really pushing in those temperatures or bringing them down. And so you can see a little bit breezier along the coast, 13 miles an hour in Santa Monica, Palmdale, Lancaster, a bit breezier at 25 miles an hour, 16 in San Bernardino. So those winds will stay for the next couple of days. A look at those weather headlines for the upcoming week here. So what you're really going to see is breezy westerly winds for our Monday. And then as we head into the rest of the week, overnight and morning, low clouds and fog for the coast and valleys. Cooler temperatures through Friday, that 7-day coming up.
A teenager was shot dead outside the Rose Bowl last night. Another man also shot but survived. Hours earlier, the same parking lot was full of fans for a football game. But by the time the shooting happened at 11:20, most UCLA and Oklahoma fans had gone home. Police tell us they are still looking into what led to the violence. And so far, no details on a possible suspect. Our Frankie is out there in the field right now. Frankie, can you tell us what's out there? Is there still a police presence at the stadium?
Hi guys, I'm here in Pasadena, right outside the Rose Bowl, where the shooting took place, I believe, in parking lot K. As of today, there is no squad units. The scene has been cleared and folks are out here enjoying their Sunday afternoon.
All right, thank you very much, Frankie. Keep us posted on any kind of developments that you get out there.
Absolutely. Back to you guys at the studio.
A new development in a decades-old case. Police say they've identified the suspect in the kidnapping and murder of an 11-year-old girl in Torrance. Terry Lynn Hollis disappeared Thanksgiving Day in 1972. She went for a bike ride and never returned. Our Sarah Pila spoke with Hollis's brother about what this new information means for the family.
Siblings Randy and Tammy Hollis have been waiting 47 years to find out who kidnapped and killed their sister, Terry Lynn Hollis.
It's amazing that we've come to this day. I only wish that my parents were still alive to see this.
11-year-old Terry Lynn Hollis disappeared from Torrance while riding her bike on Thanksgiving Day in 1972. Her body was found in Ventura County the next day, where she had been strangled and sexually assaulted.
It was kind of surreal, like being 16, you don't think of it as really something that is happening. It wasn't normal for the city of Torrance.
For almost 5 decades, this case had gone unsolved until detectives were able to confirm their person of interest as Jake Edward Brown, who also went by the alias Thomas Tracy Burham. Detectives learned that Brown died in 2003 and was buried in Arizona. They traveled to the state and collected his remains. Using new technology of genealogy, DNA Labs International in Florida were successful in extracting DNA evidence from the bones and could confirm that Jake Edward Brown had murdered Terry Lynn Hollis.
Under these very unfortunate circumstances, we are still proud to say that this case has been solved.
Despite knowing who did it, it will never take away the pain fully for Randy, but it does eliminate some distress.
It takes away a lot of doubt.
And as the next Thanksgiving holiday nears in a few months, this one won't be any different than years past since Terry Lynn went missing on that fateful day. Even though they now know who took Terry Lynn's life, for Randy and Tammy, that day will forever live on as a day of remembrance in her honor.
I just go off by myself and I'll remember the day and just give a moment of silence, sort of like today is for 9/11 for people. You take a moment to remember.
They never thought it would happen here. If you watch the news, local news, any news, you know that's words we reporters say all too often when it comes to personal tragedies like the next story. Well, police are investigating the death of an LA deputy city attorney, his wife and son, as a double murder-suicide. They described the shooting in Northridge as a, quote, family violence matter, unquote, involving Eric Lertzman. The lawyer's grown-up daughter was able to escape. Now, we don't know anything about the motive, but officials tell us there was an ongoing health issue and the recent loss of a loved one. Our J.D. Career picks up the story from there.
A community, family, and friends are all left grieving after an alleged murder-suicide took place in this very home. I'm J.D. Career here in Northridge, and those who knew the victims are coming here to pay their respects at the home that they visited many times before. This memorial on the steps of the Lertzman home in Northridge is a small bit of comfort for those who knew the family. They're taking the time to come to the home as an opportunity to pay respects. For most who came, it was only for a few moments. Some, like Sharon Denon, who's lived down the street for 20 years, brought flowers to lay at the doorsteps of her beloved neighbors.
They've been a really great family. My son Jeremy went to school with a daughter, Rachel, the one who's surviving, and they were good friends. And she comes and goes, and she's home not that often.
According to police and other neighbors, 25-year-old Rachel Lertzman was in the house when her father, Eric Lertzman, a deputy city attorney, allegedly started shooting. Her mother and brother were both killed, and then her father took his own life. She was able to escape out of a window and get to this home across the street when her neighbor called the police. A house that Mark Bushoff says he walks in front of every day. Even though he didn't know the family, he says he still feels the pain.
I feel depressed. It's like every day it's like something else is going on. There's no peace in this world no more.
As for Sharon, she's left trying to make sense of it all.
I mean, the mom was really nice. The dad, he was pleasant. The son was, a young kid. And it's very sad. It's a very sad thing.
For now, she, like many others, are left grieving.
Well, we recently told you about how the LA County Fair had increased security for this year's event. Well, now we know police arrested a man on suspicion of making a false threat about a mass shooting at the fair. He's 22-year-old Eric Villasenor of Sylmar. Investigators say he emailed the threat Friday because, get this, he didn't want to go to the fair with his parents. After that, police say he was pretty easy to find. The new homes of the Rams and Chargers has a new name, the SoFi Stadium. The personal finance company bought the naming rights to the facility. They include branding on the roof and on the speaker system at the bottom of the giant video board. Now, we don't know how much SoFi paid for those naming rights, but we can tell you the $5 billion stadium is expected to open next year. It's going to host the 2022 Super Bowl, the 2023 College Football Championship game, as well as opening and closing ceremonies for the 2028 Summer Olympics right there at SoFi Stadium. Well, what does it look like when studying is treated like a sport? Nick Cha Kim will show us how students are training for the next academic decathlon. And here at Spectrum News 1, we want to bring you the stories that matter to you. So please tell us what they are. You can email us at lanewsdesk@charter.com. I can tell you I see those emails all the time. You can also find us on social media via all the handles you see there on your screen. And I'm at Kate Cagle, C-A-G-L-E. There is no longer a frontrunner. That's the big headline in Politico magazine this weekend after the top 10 Democrats running for president faced off in Houston this week. But who decided who belonged on that stage in the first place? Well, the DNC says it was the polls. To qualify, candidates had to poll at least 2% in 4 polls. Christopher G. breaks down what that means exactly.
A veteran Democratic political consultant, speechwriter, and now director of the Center for the Political Future at USC Dornsife, Robert M. Shrum's home is filled with mementos of his many years in politics.
And I became political consultant and made ads.
Robert also assists with the USC Dornsife LA Times polls, which are a series of national and statewide polls conducted throughout the year.
Polls taken for candidates are designed to test arguments, personal profiles, to figure out not what position to take, but how to argue your position in a way that's going to be most acceptable to voters.
Generally based on a set of interviews from a representative sampling of the population, polls can determine where campaign monies are spent, where candidates' efforts should be concentrated, and also determine voting behavior.
In our April poll, we asked Democrats what type of candidate they wanted. And it turned out they wanted a man, they wanted a non-minority candidate, and they wanted someone with government experience. Now, this didn't mean that they're prejudiced. It means that they're cautious and prudent. They're very worried about what happened with a female candidate in 2016, so they want to be careful because they want to beat Trump.
Of course, the emergence of social media has profoundly affected political campaigns and the way that people think about issues, as now polling results can be more widely and quickly disseminated.
Social media has changed everything. People can express what they think instantly. I think it does have an impact on how other people on their social media feed feel.
But the way in which we receive polling results can be complicated. Robert says in 2016, some of the polling results on Donald Trump were hard to believe.
I said that no how, no way, not in this universe or any other, can Donald Trump be elected president of the United States. I didn't believe our own polling data.
But in the end, Robert says all the polling data should take a back seat to the voters' own personal beliefs.
They should go vote for their beliefs. They should not try to wade endlessly through data. We probably have too much horse race coverage in this country.
Results of the latest USC Dornsife Los Angeles Times poll can be viewed on the USC Dornsife webpage.
All right, turning to our education beat, have you ever competed in an academic decathlon? Well, Granada Hills Charter School has a knack for winning the whole thing with 7 championships in the last 9 years. Our Nick Cha Kim shows us how this competition has changed at least one competitor's life.
Academic decathlon is serious business for serious students on high school campuses across the country. I'm Nick Cha Kim in Granada Hills, where last year's national champions are training to win again. It's a field trip for Granada Hills Charter School, and these students are in for a treat. They're about to watch a stage adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein at A Noise Within in Pasadena. But Tamara Cruz isn't here simply to enjoy a play. A senior, she's an academic decathlon national champion, and she's here with the whole team to get another perspective on the required literature for this year's competition.
I'm really excited to see how the show turns out. You know, I don't have much experience with the story of Frankenstein, but seeing it play out, I'm sure it'll be a really good, in-depth experience of the story.
Granada Hills Charter School won 7 of the last 9 years, so they have a knack for winning. But it's not as simple as filling the team with the smartest students. Every team is composed of A, B, and C students, and Tamara is one of the C students. She may not have the best GPA, but academic decathlon reflects a real-world environment, and teamwork is where Tamara has found success.
I'm hoping that doing decathlon again will allow me to have the same success I did last year. But most importantly, I want to get the same growth I had out of the program and also be able to make friends with my new teammates.
Academic decathlon involves intense study and training covering science, literature, art, music, social science, economics, and math. And everybody is in it together. Math teacher Alina Lee is the head coach.
It's not just that the A students are helping the C students learn more or understand the material more, but the C students bring their own unique personalities to our team. Also, just using different ways of learning is something that I have found the C students to bring to the table.
Tamara isn't sure which college she wants to attend yet, so she's focused on winning her second national championship with her team. But it wasn't something she imagined herself doing in the first place.
I decided to do it because I knew it was something that could help me better myself in the future. And it's something that I've really enjoyed doing because it's allowed me to really better myself as a person. My grades have gotten better, my social skills.
Grades don't make a better person, but the ability to teamwork certainly does.
Governor Gavin Newsom plans to veto a bill that would have blocked President Trump's rollback of endangered species protections. Lawmakers passed the sweeping legislation yesterday. The changes would restore many environmental and workplace safety regulations created by former President Barack Obama that were weakened or repealed by President Trump. A bill that would roll back school start times is now on the governor's desk. This weekend, lawmakers passed SB 328, which would ban high schools and middle schools from starting before 8:30 and 8 a.m. respectively. Supporters say the measure would help students' sleep schedules. Opponents say it would make it harder on parents who just got to get to work. Boyle Heights has been in the headlines in recent years as that neighborhood fights gentrification. The neighborhood is 95% Latinx, and one building stands at the center of it all. Our Jada Montemurano shows us how one man is preserving local history.
The history runs deep in Boyle Heights, especially at 2708 East Cesar Chavez Avenue. Famous performers and activists graced these hallowed halls since the 1900s.
Count Basie.
And now Chef Mario Cristerna plans to honor that.
And I believe in restoring what was already here.
This was home to the Jewish Bakers Union, the Paramount Ballroom, the ACLU, and that's just naming a few. Mario calls himself the new custodian of the building.
A lot of history.
He restored the facade and added art reminiscent of the key players that spent their time here.
This was Sonny and Cher. When they were called Caesar and Cleo, they used to live upstairs and play in the ballroom. Caesar and Cleo.
They performed at the Paramount Ballroom, which Mario is bringing back to its former glory. It's where other notable artists like Count Basie, Rita Hayworth, and Social Distortion used to play. It will now be home to new artists of our generation.
I feel like the timing was now. I feel like in my own spiritual, kind of esoteric kind of way I can say, that there were some forces back there working to bring us together at this moment, to create it as the Paramount, to relive the Paramount, and to be the Paramount.
And of course, Mario is a chef. He went to culinary school in LA, then worked for a Michelin star chef in Barcelona. But he said the universe was pulling him back to his hometown, so he had to bring some food into the space. Brooklyn Avenue Pizza Company will be opening in a few months. The name reminiscent of what the street used to be named and what he says natives still call it.
I hope that when they come, they feel like they're at home. They feel peaceful. They feel alive. They feel together. They feel like this is where they need to be.
With the fine dining restaurant in the works next door, Mario is bringing the history of Boyle Heights back to life while also making room for future growth. He's excited to bring new jobs and opportunities to his neighborhood.
This is where I started. This is where I belong, and I love my hood. Love Boyle Heights.
His love is seen in every inch of the space as he works to restore and celebrate the history of Boyle Heights.
The restaurant next door will be called Poblador. It's named after Los Pobladores, or the townspeople. It will be more of a fine dining experience, giving Chef Mario a chance to show off more of his skills. It's set to open up next year. It was traffic stopping and road blocking. Coast 2019 took over Santa Monica today. That means a total of 2 miles in the city shut down to cars, but open to anything else. Parker Collins found out they weren't just talking about bikes and scooters. Some people thought outside of the box or inside of it.
Every piece starts the same, with a simple box. Artist Kyle Johnson is leading workshops where everyone can create their own way to get around. 8-year-old Senna Victor has extensive experience with the material.
I can tell you're a cardboard artist. You just need more time, huh?
Yeah, I'm a fan of cardboard.
Workshops like these are happening right before Coast 2019. It's a free, one-day carnival spread across Santa Monica. On Sunday, September 15th, parts of Ocean Avenue, Colorado Esplanade, and Main Street will be closed to traffic, starting at 10 a.m. until 4. Artists hope to break or at least soften our dependence on cars.
When the streets are clear of cars, especially as a parent, it just feels safer.
These creations are meant to be worn, kind of like your own miniature float. Some of the best could win prizes. There are 6 categories around innovation, creativity, teamwork, and how people-powered it is. Senna isn't too worried about winning.
I don't know why hot glue dries so fast.
Well, it's because it's not that hot.
Kyle works with a lot of different media. Cardboard is one of his favorites. He knows how to cut it and shape it into almost anything. He loves sharing his techniques.
I usually end up learning more from them than they learn from me. One thing I like about working with young people is just that they don't seem to edit themselves.
Maybe getting around by something like a rocket is a wild dream, but dreaming of a safer street seems within reach.
Coming up, all these folks you see right here got together to honor the only local nonprofit that provides free food for people with critical illness. We'll tell you more about that. But before we go, here's a look at Seal Beach Pier, courtesy of surfline.com. Well, the times, they are a-changin', and that includes the way we ship things. In the future, your Amazon package, it's likely going to be delivered by a robot. Well, a robot truck, that is. And in this week's Virtually Rick, Rick Adams is giving us a look at autonomous trucking.
One of the largest industries in the US is getting a digital makeover. And thanks to advances in technology, it's going to have a lifelong impact on the things we buy online and in stores for generations to come. In today's Virtually Rick, we kick the tires on the world of autonomous trucking. So come with me, let's get virtual. First of all, though, what on earth is it? Well, self-driving trucks, basically. But why is it such a big deal, Rick? Well, trucking accounts for 70% of all transported goods in the States, and it employs over 129 million people. That is nearly 6% of all American jobs, and it generates way over $700 billion in the US alone. That's the GDP of Monaco, that place where billionaires live. But trucking has a problem. Online shopping, which means there's not enough drivers to keep up with the demand. Nearly 1 million jobs need to be filled. A measure of the importance of trucking is that without the current vital truck force that we have, some studies have shown that grocery stores would run out of food in just 3 days. So there's the problem. And the solution? More trucks. And ones that don't need a human to drive it, because humans, well, they get tired. And legally, truckers have to stop driving after 10 hours. It's a safety thing. And the difference an autonomous truck could make could be a trip across the US in just 2 days instead of 5. All this change is going to happen in stages, though. First, computer-driven trucks, with a human on board, of course, will be driven more efficiently, with automated braking being more fuel efficient. Then there'll be a process called platooning, where trucks are joined together electronically to decrease the drag from wind, slipstreaming in much the same way cyclists do in the Tour de France, saving even more money on fuel. After that, drivers will be needed less and less for the long-haul part. It'll be like our transatlantic airline pilots flicking a switch to autopilot, then taking over to land the plane at the end. The same will be true for truck drivers, meeting the trucks as they come off the freeway to do the last bit of driving in cities where squishy things like you and I live. But really, it's going to be around 10 to 20 years before trucks are able to do their own thing from beginning to end. So what about drivers' jobs? Well, the downside will be what's happened to the taxi world. Lower skilled drivers will only be required for the last stretch of the journey, and lower skilled will most likely mean lower paid. There's no doubt autonomous trucking will create massive savings and massive profits. But where will companies pass on these savings? To their shareholders? Or will they choose to pay their drivers more? Well, what do you think? Hopefully by the time this happens, corporations will be more responsible. But so far, well, more evidence is needed. But until then, the only real solution is to keep on trucking. 10-4, rubber duck.
Happy Sunday, I'm Leah Freeman here in the Spectrum News 1 Weather Center. We had a warm week that we just passed, and today we're already starting to see those changes with those clouds that have stuck around throughout our Sunday. That's going to be the case as we head through the start of our week. Mid to high level clouds, as you can see here from our Santa Monica Mountain time lapse, and also on our visible satellite, you can see all across the Southern California coast those clouds, and they're going to stick around for the next couple of days thanks to this area of low pressure that's pushing on shore to our north. That's going to continue to bump down our temperatures. So already bringing rain to areas like Portland and Seattle. And for us, not going to see rain this far south, could for areas of Northern California. But for us, we're really just going to see those temperatures drop off. Our winds pick up as well as a deeper marine layer over the next several days. Another trough right behind it. So that's going to continue to keep our temperatures nice and cool as we head into the middle of the week. Our temperatures are going to notice below average as well for this time of year. So take a look at the wind speeds tomorrow along the coast coming in from the southwest. A little breezy in some spots, 12 for Point Mugu, 13 in Oxnard, but the real hot spots are going to be the same normal locations like Lancaster, Palmdale, Big Bear, Palm Springs, where we could see some gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. But these winds are going to help to usher in the clouds along the coast. So deeper marine layer, like I mentioned, even clouds farther into the inland valley areas. So mid to high level passing clouds, we'll call it for tomorrow. So mostly sunny skies for our Monday, but even with that, our temperatures are going to feel nice and comfortable. So as we take you out to Los Angeles over the next several days, we're going to see our temperatures drop off just a bit. 80s for the start of the week, dropping into the upper 70s by Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, you'll start to see those temperatures warm back up, 86 by Sunday. So warming up again as we head into the beginning of into next weekend. But for our week, we'll enjoy those cooler temperatures Wednesday, Thursday, even Friday. Notice average this time of year is 84 for the Orange County Basin area. So below average for several days there. And as we take you now to our next 7-day, which will be for the coast, you can see our temperatures not dropping off a ton there, but 80s back by Sunday. And we'll have a closer look at more weather coming up towards the end of the show.
Whether you've lived in LA your whole life or maybe you came here to make it big, this is a city for dreamers. Our Parker Collins met a SoCal native who just landed his biggest role yet. And as you might guess, the journey was not easy.
Lawrence Kao is an actor who finally got his big break on Netflix. I'm Parker Collins in Hacienda Heights, where Lawrence grew up, went to high school, and even spent a week in jail.
Their lives can change.
Pictures of him fill the shelves of his childhood home. This is where Lawrence Kao grew up. His mom still lives here.
I helped my mom put in this mailbox.
Lawrence landed his biggest role yet. He plays Tommy Wah on Netflix's Wu Assassins. This is the first time he's a regular on a series. The main character is a chef who gets superpowers to save the world. Lawrence is his drug-addicted friend. Season 1 just dropped.
I've seen this Wu Assassin. It ain't him. It's some old bald dude. Oh, whoa, okay, stop doing that.
His path to the small screen began here at Glenn Wilson High School. This is where he started acting. He hasn't seen this campus in more than a decade.
I was in band too, I played the saxophone, so I remember the field very vividly. Yeah, everything still looks pretty much the same.
This is also where his career was almost ended. Opening night of his high school play, Lawrence says he was arrested. He spent a week in jail because an eyewitness put him at the scene of a crime. It was a case of mistaken identity, and he was later released. When he got out, he found his classmates made Free Laurie posters.
The only time I think about it is just in sort of like in an appreciative kind of a way, because when I look back at it, it sort of propelled me into doing what I wanted to do. And so in a sense, it was sort of like a blessing in disguise.
He always carries pieces of his past, like the mail truck on his arm, which is what his dad used to drive. Even his tattoos have a tale to tell.
It's all about telling stories, and I feel like stories are so important, and that's what drives me forward.
He's come a long way to star in this action-packed crime drama. Yet only a few miles from Hollywood, his own thriller set him on a course for fame.
All right, now we're going to shed light on a special charity. This weekend, Project Angel Food rang in 30 years of delivering specially crafted meals to Angelenos with various illnesses. The 2019 Angel Awards Under the Stars transformed a parking lot in Hollywood to an A-list gala, and even a 2020 presidential candidate was there. In fact, Marianne Williamson founded Angel Food in 1989. She told us why creating safety nets in SoCal is pivotal to her mission and platform on healthcare.
We're living in the midst of a food revolution. People are understanding that food that is not nutritious can be actually very toxic for the body, can actually contribute to illness, some of the contaminants in our water, some of the toxins in our food. And we also understand more and more now how healthy food is such a contributor not only to wellness, but also to the amelioration of disease.
Now, you know this was a pure SoCal event when this man, actor and entrepreneur Danny Trejo, designed the menu for the night. This woman, former Supreme Mary Wilson, closed the evening under the stars. Project Angel Food is the only nonprofit in SoCal to provide free food to people with these critical illnesses here in our county. There are more than 3,000 volunteers. Here's some more numbers. They've delivered more than 11 million free meals to 20,000 people over the past 3 decades. Here's a quick rundown of the weekend box office. Angel Has Fallen pulled in $1.2 million domestically, bringing its total up to $57.2 million. The action-packed political thriller starring Gerard Butler debuted at #1 over Labor Day weekend and has continued to float around the top 3. Hustlers did not take the top spot at the box office, but it was arguably the weekend's biggest winner. The film stars Jennifer Lopez and Constance Wu as strippers who work together to fleece Wall Street brokers. It made an estimated $33 million at the North American box office this weekend. That was enough to give the film the #2 spot, exceeding industry expectations and its budget. It Chapter 2 stayed atop the chart in its second weekend with a strong $41 million. At this stage in the game, it's clear that It Chapter 2 will not make more at the box office than Chapter 1, which, by the way, was the biggest horror hit of all time. It made over $700 million. But the sequel is on track to be one of the biggest blockbusters this year. In news across the country, a year after his confirmation hearing, Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh faces a new sexual misconduct allegation and fresh corroboration of an old one. A New York Times expose reveals that one of Kavanaugh's college classmates at Yale says he saw the justice expose himself to a female student. The account echoes that of Deborah Ramirez, who had previously accused Kavanaugh of doing the same thing to her. In the past, Kavanaugh has denied these sorts of accusations. The White House and Capitol Hill are considering a phone app in their plans to reduce gun violence. The app would allow private gun sellers to perform background checks on buyers. In the wake of multiple mass shootings this summer, President Trump initially appeared open to expanding background checks, but then backed off after pressure from the NRA. The LA County Fair is back with games, rides, and all that amazing food. Every year, the fair partners with the vendors to provide guests with activities, and also organizations and artists to provide entertaining and hopefully some eye-opening experiences. Lorene Ayub went down to the Fairplex in Pomona to learn about how one organization is bringing people together.
Here at the LA County Fair, it's all about supporting communities of all backgrounds. I'm Lorene Ayub in Pomona, learning about SEAM, an organization that's providing a takeover this weekend dedicated to celebrating African American arts.
Teaching poetry is often halted when I question, why are you here? How long?
Judah One is a passionate poet that will be sharing his craft through the SEAM Takeover at the LA County Fair. SEAM is a nonprofit empowering African Americans to increase wealth in the community through entrepreneurship. And Judah One has teamed up with them to support this year's theme in celebrating the contributions of the Black community in pop culture and the arts.
I love art because art literally saved my life. When I was 16, my best friend committed suicide. I was really depressed. Poetry gave me the outlet to express myself, to get that out of my heart, out of my mind.
SEAM, which stands for Cooperative Economic Empowerment Movement, is preparing to host activities all weekend with art displays, music performances, and panel discussions highlighting financial wisdom. Judah One has been supported by SEAM firsthand and knows the importance of mentorship in this area of life.
I'm a small business owner and an artist, so it just helps me to get a network. Also, there's other business owners there that know quite a bit, so there's like organic consulting. There's like an osmosis process that's going on.
And that's exactly what Reggie Webb, the founder of SEAM, envisioned when he established his organization. He wants to see his community experience financial freedom, passed down from one generation to the next.
I am in the fourth quarter of my life, and so legacy becomes very important to you once you get older.
The LA County Fair, which had its first opening in 1922, is the fourth largest in the nation. Attendance is increasing each year, and so is multicultural representation.
The LA County Fair is the fair for everyone. It's extremely important to have diversity in the fair because that's the new generation of fairgoers looks like us.
And as the SEAM team gears up for both fun and enlightenment, Judah One says the education that will be provided is priceless.
The information that SEAM has for you, the opportunity and how it can be applied in our community.
A community that aims to grow stronger together.
Are you ready for this season of creepy, crawly, scary, spooky? Well, if you're the kind of person who would pay someone to scare you, you don't have to wait until October. SoCal's most elaborate Scare Fest opened its doors to the public this weekend. This is Universal Studios' Halloween Horror Nights, and it had a star-studded opening. We got an exclusive tour of the Frankenstein meets the Wolfman maze from its composer, rock icon Slash. He told us about his upcoming Guns N' Roses tour and shared some new music from the legendary band.
We're working on it. We're actually in the midst of it. We're going to stop for a second, do this tour, and then come back and work on it more.
Oh my goodness. Halloween Horror Nights runs through November 3rd. Count. Coming up, she's blazing a trail just by playing the game. You'll meet the University of La Verne's first female football player. If you want more of the evening beat, be sure to download the Spectrum TV app to watch us on the go. Well, it is fall in SoCal. You know what that means. Pumpkin spice lattes with ice in them, beanies with t-shirts, and of course, football. But to say that last thing is male-dominated is, of course, an understatement. In fact, only one woman has ever been invited to try out for a spot on an NFL team, and that was in 2013. But there are some ladies out there who have not been discouraged. Our Kristen Lago introduces us to a potential game changer.
What does it mean to be a football player? If you ask Coach Creek from the University of La Verne, it means being a hard worker and a team player first. What it doesn't necessarily mean, being a guy. I'm Kristen Lago at Ortmeyer Stadium with more on the female football player here that is breaking the norm. There's no doubt it takes quick feet, a lot of strength, and of course coordination to play the game of football. But Mika Makekau knows it also takes something more. Heart.
Everybody on the field plays with their heart and all out. There's not that one person who doesn't go all out.
It's that love of the game that helped her become the University of La Verne's first female football player. According to Max Prep, she's just the 15th woman ever to play college ball. When you come from a family like Mika's, though, this seems like her destiny.
So all of my siblings played football.
Her sister played in the Pop Warner circuit. Her older brother, Keone, is a force at Navy.
When it comes to me and my brother, I've been getting more attention than he has. And he's kind of upset about it, but
who can blame him when his sister is out here making history? She's just 18 years old and hails from Hawaii, where she set a state record for the longest field goal made by a female kicker. Her head coach, Chris Creek, said in addition to skill, Mika carried a lot of the intangibles he looks for in scouting a player.
I mean, football's pretty easy. We can coach up the other things, but it's really the hard work, determination, and then that family brotherhood or bond that we're looking for.
Although adjusting into a male-dominated sport hasn't always been easy.
In the beginning of my experience, everyone was very awkward towards me, and it was almost like I didn't belong.
But now she's earned some respect. Her coach even leaned on her for a field goal in the second game of the season.
When he said field goal, he said Mika, and I was like, what? that's me. And so then I ran out there and I just kicked it.
Don't worry, it went in. The first of many she hopes will go through the uprights as she continues her journey at La Verne. She's part of a trio of kickers who've accepted her into their family.
I found my sense of belonging, of a brotherhood, and being a part of a team.
And she's hoping in her own way to inspire other little girls who grew up loving the game, but may have been too afraid to ever suit up and take the field.
Well, it may take two to tango, but there will be many more than that at the International Tango Summit in LA. It's happening today at the LAX Hilton, and you don't have to be a pro to go. Anyone is welcome. In fact, our Sarah Pila put on her dancing shoes and ran into an unlikely student.
The second annual International Tango Summit is bringing a taste of Buenos Aires to Los Angeles. I'm Sarah Pila in Westwood at Tango Lessons in LA, where one of the studio's best students is well known for his love of cannabis, but may also surprise you that he's also a tango aficionado.
It might be the last person you'd expect twirling their wife around on the dance floor. But when people learn that Tommy Chong loves to tango, he often gets asked, what's he been smoking?
That's one of the reasons I dance tango. It's because I can smoke and dance at the same time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That way, when I make mistakes, I don't care.
Known as one half of the Cheech and Chong duo that found success in the 70s and 80s with their stoner comedy, Tommy and his wife Shelby found tango years ago when they were in Paris, and then again years later while in Buenos Aires. But little did he know, the dance would one day save his life. While on Dancing with the Stars in 2014, Tommy was diagnosed with colorectal cancer and says he needed to do something that would fool his body into thinking he was young again.
Tango was the only physical activity that I could get through, and here I am today, I don't know how many years now, but cancer-free.
For the past 5 years, Tommy and Shelby dance with couple Marcos Cuestas and Ruta Maria, who are the founders of the International Tango Summit. The Chongs are sponsors of the event that's happening at the LAX Hilton from September 12th through the 15th and can be seen there dancing together.
Tango has its beautiful challenges. As soon as we get a taste of something we like, we want a little bit more. So seeing him grow in this dance has been truly rewarding for myself.
And for those in LA looking for a chance to grow and try something new, the Tango Summit has something for everyone.
Tango Angelino experience is for somebody who doesn't have yet the tango experience and they want a taste of Buenos Aires here in LA.
And no matter the level of skill, there's always something to learn.
You never conquer it. You never get
But that's the reason you keep coming and taking lessons, because you don't conquer it.
And if you get all tangled up, just tango on.
Si, señor.
Tommy was diagnosed with cancer while on Dancing with the Stars in 2014. He's been dancing tango with his wife Shelby on and off for 20 years. He says it keeps his mind sharp and is perfect for physical activity. And fun little tidbit to take with you, our very own morning anchor Giselle Fernandez was also on season 2 of Dancing with the Stars. And as usual, she makes everything look effortless and fabulous. All right, now to the offbeat. That's right, we have every kind of beat here at Spectrum News 1. We're going to tell you the little story about how this lady in San Diego recovered her lost engagement ring. And usually these stories are really cute, but not this one. Jenna Evans says she recently had a dream that she and her fiance were facing a dangerous situation and he told her to swallow her ring. And she says when she woke up, the ring was gone, so she went to urgent care. And get this, the X-ray tech found it right there in her stomach. Now, she decided she did not want to wait for nature to take its course. She underwent an emergency endoscopy to get the ring back. Then you see it right there on her finger. And she's set to get married in May. If you ever find yourself in such a dilemma, Leia, just remember nature will take its course.
I have so many questions.
I know.
So
I don't
many
know
questions.
if I'm buying this dream story.
I know, right? Anyone could say that. I need to know more details about
Does
what
she
that dream
sleep,
was.
eat? Like, I want to know more. Like,
Right?
does this
Yeah,
happen
she
all
has
the
to.
time?
Can you
I
imagine
don't know.
just... How do you even swallow? I don't even know.
I don't know. Seems like elaborate to me. All right, tell us what we can expect for tomorrow morning.
All right, well, for us, what's going to pass is the heat that we have been seeing. So today we already started to see those changes. We'll see tomorrow those clouds kicking in once again like we saw this afternoon. Starting out the day at 82, well, around the lunch hour. 80s will top out for the afternoon and ending in the mid-70s by the evening hour. So not a bad day, but you will notice the onshore flow a bit more, so temperatures are going to be cooler. So they're still warm, but definitely cooler than what we've been seeing. Mostly 80s here around the area, 70s along the coast, so not too bad. So look at those headlines. Like I said, breezy, staying cool for the week, then enhanced marine layer, especially closer to the coast as we head into the morning hours, and then you'll notice the clouds Monday and Tuesday. So not too bad. Feeling fall-like.
Sounds like autumn in SoCal to me.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, that'll do it for this edition of the Sunday Evening Beats.
We're going to leave you with a look at El Porto, courtesy of surfline.com.
And we'll see you back here next weekend at 5 p.m.